Hello students. So listen to the class, concentrated and follow the points, take down the points neatly in your notebook. So we are going to discuss here about the class Cyclostomata. This is one of the subclass comes under the vertebrates without having the jaw. Only one example, only one class comes under this Agnatha, which does not have the jaw. That is a class Cyclostomata. See the word itself, there is a meaning is there. Okay, in the word of Cyclostomata, cyclo means circular. Okay, then stomata means stoma. It means mouth. So this animal has a circular mouth. This petromyzon, or for example is one of the petromyzon. Okay, so they have a circular mouth surrounded by a suctorial funnel which helps for the sucking without jaw. Now you may think why they should have that circular mouth. See, their mouth will be like this. If this is the animal like this, the animal will be somewhat okay, animal with this structure, and there will be a circular mouth. Okay, and they will have the structures which helps for their attaching to an host body. So what will be their habitat then? Which type of nutrition actually they are? They are ectoparasitic, meaning they will suck to the large body. They will stuck to the large body and absorb the nutrients, as well as they will along with them, they will also get the food. So that's why it is a cyclostomata, means a circular mouth surrounded by a suctorial funnel like structure which helps for sucking without the jaw. Then generally they are ectoparasite. In the textbook it is mentioned as that they are all are marine. Okay, so all these living members of this cyclostomata are ectoparasite is given, but it's not all of them are not ectoparasites. Some of them are predators also there, and they are marine. Okay, that is they are found in the marine. So skin is without scales, fins are present. They do have the fins. The skin is without scales. For example, if you take the fish, okay, so the scales are present, right? Like these scales will be present on the fish body. So these scales will not be there in the case of cyclostomata. Then endoskeleton. How this endoskeleton will be? Cartilaginous. Where it is cartilaginous? Endoskeleton is cartilaginous, meaning it is made up of cartilaginous bony. That means soft bones are there, not hard. But exoskeleton is completely absent. Then body, it is shape is elongated body they have, and it has how many pair of gill slits? At least 6 to 15 pairs. They will have the gill slits of 6 to 15 pairs of gill slits. What's the function of these gill slits? It helps for the respiration. The body, they devoid of scales. Already we mentioned exoskeleton is absent, whereas endoskeleton is present. In general features of vertebrates we studied, usually the vertebrates will have the exoskeleton and endoskeleton, but in this case of the cyclostomata, exoskeleton is absent but endoskeleton is there, but it is not bony type. It is completely made of a cartilage. So here students, you have to know, you should have the prior knowledge of the difference between cartilage and bone tissue. Okay, the cartilage means soft bones. For example, the bones which is present on our nose or on the ear, all those are soft bones. So that are made up of cartilaginous bones. So like that bones which are easily breakable, they are the cartilaginous bones. Even between the vertebral column and all, we have that connections, okay, which is made up of cartilaginous. But some of the bones which are inside the body, vertebral column, they are bony endoskeleton. This is the difference between cartilage and bony endoskeleton. Then body is devoid of scales. They are marine. Actually, they are marine, but For spawning, they will go to fresh water. What is the meaning of spawning? You know, it is laying of eggs is called as spawning. So how this life cycle, I just want to tell you about the life cycle, which is little interesting about this. So interesting part of this is there about their life cycle. So usually this is how this fish will appear with the having fins and all absent. Okay, so, and even the textbook also there's a diagram is there. So first, adult will migrate to rivers. Adult will migrate to rivers. Why they go to rivers? For spawning. Spawning in the case of fishes, which is known as laying of eggs, is called as spawn. For spawning. Then what happens? You know, immediately they die. Sad part is that immediately after laying eggs, they will die. Then once that eggs are laid, then these eggs, they'll develop into larva, and they develop what this larva is develop into a small worm-like animal. It is larva, and this larva will live in the river itself. For how many days? In the river it will live many days, 5 to 6 years, up to 5 to 6 years until they grow. They will remain in the river itself. Then once this larva metamorphosis, we call that step as metamorphosis, that transition of this larva into a adult. So this process is called as metamorphosis, means meta and changes. That meta means large changes. For example, you might have seen the frog's tadpole larva. Have you seen? Usually a frog's tadpole will have a fins, it will have the tail like the structures. It will be completely different from the frog. So those changes which happens from this larva to adult, no, there are many changes are there. So such changes is called as metamorphosis. So in this case also, when this petromyzon or this cyclostomata, when it in the river, it will be in the form of larva, and it undergoes metamorphosis, and then what happens? Metamorphosis into adult, and migrate to ocean. They will migrate to ocean and migrate to ocean. That means marine water, right? This is how their life cycle completes. So this is what the interesting thing is that once they lay egg, they will immediately they die. And one more interesting thing which I found is that, see, once they live up to 5 to 6 years, then they'll move to the ocean. So how they'll realize that they have to move on to the ocean now. This is a time for their migration. And even after, during the laying, yes, for the laying of eggs, for the spawning also, they know to move to the fresh water. This is how the nature has created with a lot of curiosity, and this is why we should always respect the nature. The nature has created in a well-built manner so that animals will not find any problems and they can able to survive by themselves. This is what about some amazing feature of this cyclostomata. Then let us move on to the next point. They are poikilotherms. Yes, here this term also I want to tell you the difference between poikilothermic and what is another homeothermic animal. What is the difference between poikilotherms and homeothermal? Poikilothermal animal means, or poikilotherms means the animal which keeps changing their body temperature according to the ambient environment. To the immediate environment that temperature will be keep on changing. It won't be constant. But in case of homeothermic, for example, we all belongs to the homeothermal animal because our body temperature will remain same wherever we go unless due to any diseased condition or abnormal health conditions, that temperature may vary. Otherwise, we have a capacity to maintain the homeothermal, that means maintenance of a constant body temperature wherever we are. According to the external environment, our body temperature or in the homeotherms, it won't change. So poikilotherms means where the body temperature will keep changing according to the external environment. Okay, that's what the difference of is not constant, which keep changing according to the surrounding environment conditions or at surrounding temperature. Then homeothermic. What's the meaning of homeothermal? Homeothermal means where body temperature remains same without changing according to the ambient environment. Ambient means just surrounding environment. We call it as in a scientific way ambient environment. So this is the difference between poikilotherms and what's another one? Homeothermal. So poikilotherms and homeothermal difference is this much. They can remain changing their environment according to the body temperature, according to the external environment. If it is changing, then it is called as poikilotherms. If that remains same throughout their same, then it is called if it not changing according to the external temperature, then it is called as homeothermal animals. Now we have to study about the class Osteichthyes and class Chondrichthyes. So what are the difference between these class Osteichthyes and Chondrichthyes? The major difference is that about their endoskeleton. Okay, so endoskeleton in the both it varies. How it varies? In one it is bony, whereas in other it is cartilaginous. Okay. So about the poikilotherms and homeothermal, those who want I'll add 2 more points for that. Poikilotherms means which will changes the body temperature according to the environmental temperature. That's all written. Then homeothermal means here the temperature will remain constant and does not change with the environmental temperature. Then usually poikilotherms, the metabolic rate will be low. Metabolism will be low in case of poikilothermus. The metabolic rate, all the metabolic rate will go little slower rate. Whereas when the case of homeothermic, metabolic rate is usually it is higher. The metabolism rate means we know that all the complicated life processes are carried out in our body in homeothermus. Then as well as poikilotherms, since they are not able to adjust with the surrounding environment, to avoid this extreme condition, in adverse condition, they go for migration or they will undergo hibernation. So hibernation even hibernation cannot be seen in case of warm-blooded animals. Warm-blooded animals will not undergo hibernation, whereas poikilotherms, cold-blooded animals, will undergo hibernation during winter months. Then example for the poikilotherms are fishes, then amphibians and reptiles. Examples are fishes, amphibians and reptiles. I am writing in a short form. Then for homeothermal animals are only two are there, birds and mammals. Students, please write in a separate column showing the poikilotherms and homeotherms by collecting all the points. Okay, one point is about their body temperature, which keeps changing in poikilotherms. Another, homeotherms will not keeps changing. Poikilotherms is also called as cold-blooded, whereas homeothermal animals are also called as warm-blooded animals. In case of poikilotherms, metabolic rate is usually low, but in the homeothermic animal, here the metabolic rate will be usually higher. Then next examples. Yes, next they will undergo hibernation during winter. Which one? Poikilothermic animals, whereas homeothermal animals will not undergo hibernation. Then examples are, which are the first three? That is, when we studied, we have taken the examples of tetrapoda, we have understood what are the amphibians, reptiles, aves, mammals. Last two, aves and mammals are homeothermic, whereas fishes, amphibians and reptiles, they are poikilotherms. So that's why they'll undergo hibernation. Such features are seen in that. Okay, now in short, I'll give you differences between chondric thighs and ostick thighs. Then we will study in detail with the with the examples for both. Now, cartilage fishes and bony fishes. Let me show you the specimen first. All might have observed that. See, this is a two specimen. This is the bony ostick thighs. Okay, I'll take on my right hand ostick thighs. On my left hand, it is a chondric thighs. And if you want one more example, let me take. Okay, so here, what are the major features we can understand? Here, one thing it is, I said already, it is ostick thighs, cartilaginous fishes, shark and all, they'll always marine. But ostick thighs, they'll be marine as well as freshwater fishes also seen among the ostick thighs. Then about their scales, here they have the placoid scales, which cannot be seen, microscopic structures. These are the cycloid scales. They have the possesses placoid scale, but ostick thighs have the cycloid scales. Then here completely cartilaginous. They are completely bony endoskeleton. Then what about their mouth? Mouth, you see here it is on ventral side. In cartilaginous fishes, mouth is on ventral side, but it is on the exactly at the tip. So we call it as at the terminal position. Mouth is on terminal position in case of ostick thighs, ventral in case of chondric thighs. Then about the yes, air bladder is absent in case of chondric thighs, which is present in the ostick thighs, so they need not to swim continuously. They have to spend more energy since they do not have this air bladder. Then about the dorsal fin and the ventral fin, about those structures, we'll see. What are those? Yeah, one more thing, which is about the operculum. Usually the gill slits are there. In your aquarium and all, if you see the fish in close view, you can see while opening that operculum, you can see a red color structure where the gills are located. That operculum is present only in the ostick thighs. That operculum is not present in the case of chondric thighs. Chondric thighs do not have that operculum, that will be kept open. Gill slits are not covered by the operculum. Then about the Yeah, about the fertilization, usually the cartilaginous fishes, they follow the internal fertilization, whereas osteichthyes will follow the external fertilization. And one more thing is that all those cartilaginous are ureotelism, and osteichthyes are ammonotelism. That meaning is that they will excrete the urine in the form of uric acid. That is, they'll excrete in a form of urine, okay, that contains more dilute. We say that dilute urine, whereas osteichthyes will excrete in the form of concentrated form, which does not require much water. So we say it is ammonotelism, since they are completely fresh water. About class chondrichthyes and class osteichthyes is our topic of today's video. So hope you got cleared about what are the major difference between chondrichthyes and osteichthyes. So in detail we'll see the features of both. First of all, about the habitat. Where these chondrichthyes are mainly seen, they are completely, most of them are marine. So they are marine animals. But freshwater fishes, osteichthyes, they include both. Either they can be freshwater, they can seen in freshwater, as well as they can also be seen in the marine water. That's the one difference with respect to their habitat. Then about their body structure and body shape. See, they are one of the animals which adapted for live in aquatic habitat. So that habitat, for that habitat they should be able to survive. So to survive better in that environment, for example, if the terrestrial habitat means the animals will have the wings to fly, or some of the their limbs will be modified to hold the tree branches if they are arboreal, and if it is aquatic they should be able to swim. So since they are a animal which lives in the aquatic habitat, for their propulsion in the aquatic habitat, for swimming continuously in the water habitat, their body is streamlined body. And here also the body of osteichthyes is also the same. They will also have the streamlined body, which have the both. They are also streamlined body, because fishes usually have the streamlined body. Then here they have a cartilaginous endoskeleton. That's a major difference with these two. They have a cartilaginous endoskeleton, whereas osteichthyes will have a bony endoskeleton. That's why it is named as osteichthyes. Osteichthyes means bone. So they have the bony endoskeleton. Osteichthyes. The next feature is that in the chondrichthyes, mouth is situated ventrally. If you look at the shark and all, see some of the large fishes are there, right? So all their mouth is located on the ventral side. If this is a shark, you can see the mouth is located on the ventral side. Whereas in the case of osteichthyes, okay, their mouth is on terminal position, right? So mouth is ventral in position, whereas in osteichthyes, mouth is located terminally. Mouth is located terminally. So together we are able to complete the two topics if you compare and study. And this also important, this portion, because question used to come to write the difference between these two. So mouth is located terminally at the end point on the dorsal side, or on the mouth is situated terminal in position. Then about their notochord. Notochord is persistent throughout their life. That's why they are named. Notochord is persistent. They are placed under vertebrata because of this reason. The vertebrate or notochord is persistent throughout their life. Notochord is persistent throughout their life. So it is known as vertebrates. Then next feature is gill slits are separate. Here in the case of chondrichthyes, gill slits. See here the gill slits will be there. They are separated but not covered by the operculum. So gill slits are separate. Then without operculum, that is a main important point. Don't forget to include that point. It is a main point here. Without operculum it has. But in case of osteichthyes, you can see if this here there will be a operculum is present which covers the gill slits. So here in this case operculum is present. In the osteichthyes, operculum is present. Then about their skin. Okay, so they both are differs. How it differs? The skin in the case of cartilaginous fish. For people or students who are knowing about this fish and who are non-vegetarians, while cutting the fishes, you might have observed, even while removing the scales, see the skin of the fishes while removing, or you can observe your parents how they are removing. You can see how differs. For example, if you take some of the dry fishes which comes under cartilaginous fishes, which are we can see that there is a powder-like structures can be observed on their body. That powder-like structure actually microscopic scales which are arranged in a one direction. Okay, so that arrangement also helps the fishes to swim in a with full energy, as well as which like how the hairs are arranged on our body in a one directed toward one direction. Likewise, these scales also directed towards one side, which helps for their swimming, which gives a force during the swimming. So skin is covered by tough. It is a little tough substance. Okay, skin is tough, containing minute, because it's a microscopic structure. Placoid scale you cannot observe with your eyes. It is containing minute placoid scales. Minute placoid scales. So what about this osteichthyes then? How they have the skin? Skin is covered by cycloid scale. Skin is covered by, what is the scale name here? It is known as cycloid scale. The scales are here, it is like this circular in position. They are circular in shape like this. This is the cycloid scale which is present in case of osteichthyes. Then actually their teeth is there, no? That teeth also a modified placoid scale. The teeth is very powerful. You know about the shark, how much they powerful. Their bite force is almost equal to a multiple times a bus tires can go through it. So like that even you know that how a bus runs on our body or anything, you know that what is the force it can apply. So with this multiple time more than that one, the shark has that power of bite. So these teeth actually modified placoid scales. You observe the teeth arrangement in shark and all, you can understand that. Okay, and they are backwardly directed because most of them are predaceous and very powerful animal. So they are, for their predatory nature, the teeth is arranged towards the backward direction, which are directed backwardly. Okay, then about their jaw, already we said they are very powerful as well as very strong for as a predators. So one more thing which makes them most powerfully about their jaws are powerful. Okay, there is to understand this power of jaws, there is a movie which is named as Jaws itself. So you will come to know what are these jaws, how they are useful, how powerful they are. So that a movie will help you to know better about that. So this, in case of chondrichthyes, jaws are powerful. But these animals, the osteichthyes, few of them are predaceous. They are also powerful animals are there, but that jaw will not be powerful as in the case of chondrichthyes. Yes, so obviously if the jaws are powerful, you can mention they are predaceous. They are predaceous, means which predate on other small aquatic animals, maybe small fishes and other aquatic animals. Then there is no air bladder in case of chondrichthyes, no air bladder. So since they do not possess an air bladder in their body, they have to swim continuously and they have to spend more energy for their swimming. But in case of osteichthyes, they have the air bladder. So air bladder is present. So they are smart in that case, right? They need not to spend more energy for swimming. Air bladder is present. So since due to the absence of this no air bladder, so they have to swim continuously. They have to swim continuously to avoid sinking. To avoid sinking, they have to swim continuously. What happens if you don't, even in our case also, if you are jumping into the river thinking that you know the very well, swimming very well, without doing the swimming, will you able to remain on the water? No, you will get sink, right? You will slowly you should keep on moving your legs and arms according to the need and according to the water force. Then only you can remain buoyant. You know buoyancy? What is buoyancy? So buoyancy means the upward force applied in the water. So the same principle is used in the osteichthyes with the help of the air bladder. So that helps to maintain their buoyancy. But that buoyancy power is not there internally. It is not built in the case of chondrichthyes because they do not have that air bladder. So they have to swim continuously to avoid sinking. Then what's the next feature of the chondrichthyes? About their internal structures. Okay, what about their heart? How many chambered heart they have? Usually fishes are having two chambered heart, right? So two chambered heart. What are the two chambers they have in their heart? One is auricle and one is ventricle. So one auricle plus one ventricle. This is their two chambered heart they are having. Then about their other structures, okay, how they are powerful, and some of them have the electric organs. Okay, electric organs means which can generate the electricity. So they already we understood they are predaceous and some of them are very powerful animals which attacks other animals. So this presence of electric organ is also one of the defense mechanism for them to attack on other animals. So one example for this is torpedo. What is that? Which can, a fish which has the electric organ in it. It is torpedo. Torpedo has a electric organ in it. Then next, now some of them has the poison stings on that. Which animal, which fish has the poison sting? It is trigon. For example, some of them can produce electricity, right? So this is a stingray or Trigon. Okay, so there was a crocodile hunter which he used to come in the Animal Planet, showing some of the crocodile's nature, and he is expert in crocodile hunting. So he's known as a crocodile hunter itself. So Steve Irwin has got attacked with this trigon exactly because that injected the poisonous sting. The trigon can inject a poison sting. So during that attack, that sting has directly went into his heart. So that's why he could not survive from that attack. And so that's how the cartilaginous fishes, that proves that cartilaginous fishes are very powerful, and there is no other example is required apart from the shark itself. How predacious they are, how powerful they are, we can make out from that. And I said in the beginning, some of them has the petromyzon, I said, right? So, but they have the mouth which has the suckers to attach on the host body or on the which act as a ectoparasite. But this one structure I just want you to show, it is in the Echinus fish, which has that sucking organ which helps for to get attached to the large animals, so that along with the large animals, when the food is eaten by that large aquatic animals, maybe the shark and all, these the broken pieces will be the food for them. So easily they can also collect the food. This is one of the other mechanism found in this. So then about the fin, okay, caudal fin. You see the caudal fin in the case of cartilaginous fishes and osteichthyes. You can see there will be a bifurcated. Okay, they will be bifurcated. But in this case, chondrichthyes, that won't be bifurcated. Okay, that is. Okay, we'll see. I shall tell you in the next class while explaining the osteichthyes. That part I'll make you clear about their caudal fin. And you also have for the practical syllabus also this too. So by the time you can make it more clear with using the specimens. So poison sting is present in case of trigon. Then what about their temperature regulation? Do they have that ability to maintain the body temperature constantly same? No, they cannot. So they are called as poikilothermic animals, or otherwise they are also called as cold-blooded animal. They are the cold-blooded animal which cannot maintain the constant body temperature. So next is about their reproduction. They are unisexual, where male and female are distinct. Then male and female are distinct, or you can also write they are dioecious. That also you can write. Then they follow the internal fertilization. So they follow the internal fertilization, and many of them are viviparous. That is an important thing here. They follow the internal fertilization, and many of them are viviparous. Oviparous also there, but most of them are viviparous. Viviparous means which can give birth to the young ones. So many of these cartilaginous fishes are viviparous. Okay. Then one more difference is that in males there is a pelvic fins are there. In males there is a pelvic fins and pectoral fins. Like that, two fins are there, which is on the near to the mouth region is a pelvic fins, which is near to the tail region is called a pectoral fins. So near the pelvic fins in males there is a claspers are there. The structure is called as claspers. So what is this claspers? So these claspers have a important role during the copulation or during the reproduction process. That claspers are functional. So this is about the major features of class chondrichthyes. So they are, let me revise once again, they are marine animals, right? They are marine. They have the streamlined body, and endoskeleton is completely cartilaginous. Mouth is ventral in position, and notochord is present, which is throughout their life it is present. Gill slits are separated but without operculum. It is separately, you can see the gill slits are like this on either side also it has, but do not have that covering, which is called as operculum. And skin is covered by a tough. Then minute placoid scales. Here placoid in cycloids in the case of osteichthyes. Then teeth is very powerful. They are directed backwards, and it is also a modified placoid scales. Okay, just find out the derivative from which their teeth is made up of. Then jaws are very powerful and they are highly predaceous. No air bladder is there, so they have to swim continuous to avoid sinking. Two-chambered heart. Then some of them possess the electric organs. One example is torpedo. Then electric eel also there, right? Then poison sting is present in case of